Hello, welcome back, and in today's video I have 25 books that are on my fall TBR. The autumn months are upon us and I'm so excited for my autumnal reading, and I have 25 options and ideas for you to add to your TBR list these next cozier months. So starting off with Fall Into You, which is a romance, and this is on Kindle Unlimited. I'm going to let you know if it is or isn't on Kindle Unlimited, and this is a very cozy romance. The main female character falling in love with her brother's best friend. Basically, the lines kind of blur between family and friends, as in like the brother's best friend has always been part of the family, but now it's seeming a little bit more like he is a friend and she's starting to get these feelings towards him, but the brother very much forbids any sort of dating to happen. So it's kind of forbidden, brother's best friend, slow burny. It sounds like the coziest, cutesy, rom-com-esque type of romance. Next we have The Ex-Hex by Starling. This book follows Vivian and Reese, and Vivian 9 years ago got her heart broken, and she is a witch and basically cast a little bit of a, not evil, but like funny spell on her ex-boyfriend, which only really gave him like bad hair for a day or two. But basically Reese comes into town and Vivian realizes the little ex-hex she put on her ex-boyfriend may not have been such a small deal, and I presume then they kind of agree to help each other out. Reese comes back to town to recharge the kind of magical lines and recharge the magic in the town, and then obviously senses a little bit of an issue, and I think that's probably where the romance blooms. Next we have The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, which is not on Kindle Unlimited, and this follows Mika, who was an orphan and has been quite isolated throughout her life, but she has an online account which she obviously has her friends and community on, and on that online account she posts videos pretending to be a witch, and she thinks no one's going to take it seriously, like it's just a joke, until one person does in fact take it seriously, and that certain someone sends her a message basically begging her to go to this mysterious house in the middle of nowhere to basically teach 3 real witches how to control their magic. So this seems so fun, it seems quite entertaining, seems quite funny. I presume the main female character is just having to fake her way through and try and teach these 3 women or girls how to control their magic without knowing a single thing of what she's doing. Next we have The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker, and this again is not on Kindle Unlimited, and this follows a girl basically going back to her father who has become very ill, and she also doesn't see him very much, but on her journey she goes camping, she has to trek, and she comes across this man, I sense a romance, who basically agrees to help her, and I think it's very much like enemies to lovers, grumpy sunshine, which I have a feeling maybe the relationship with her and her dad isn't incredible and her dad's not very well, so a emotional and cozy romance. I remember my sister saying she read this book and it made her cry, so I don't know if that was a good cry or a bad cry, but it's up for debate, we'll see. Next we have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I have heard such good things about this book, and it's written by V. Schwab, who wrote Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, another great Halloweeny pick, full pick I would definitely recommend. This follows a girl who basically made a deal or a bargain to live forever, but is also cursed to be forgotten by anybody and everybody she meets, which obviously sends her on quite a extraordinary life. And this story starts in 1714, and I presume it follows her life throughout the different years, her traveling across the whole country, the whole world, and then after 300 years of being invisible to everyone, being forgotten by everyone, Addie stumbles across a man in a hidden bookshop who remembers her name. That just sounds so fun to me. It's giving Our Infinite Fates in a sense, and everyone has told me, and everyone on TikTok is saying this is such an autumnal read, so I'm definitely hoping to read that in these months. Next we have The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni, and this book follows 17-year-old Kiva, and she has spent the last 10 years fighting for survival in a prison. Zalindov is the prison healer, and when the rebel queen is captured, Kiva is charged with keeping the ill queen alive long enough for the queen to undergo the trial by ordeal, which is a series of elemental challenges, and it's assigned to the most dangerous of criminals. And basically then the main female character gets a message from her family which says, do not let that queen die, you have to keep her alive. Another fantasy with a challenge, some trials in there. It sounds like such a fun read. I also think it's young adult. It is young adult. The stakes stakes can't be super high if it is young adults, so you kind of have a little bit more reassurance, because I'm not one for a scary fantasy. I like to know there's a happy ending in sight. Next we have Starling House by Alex E. Harrow, and this cover is so beautiful to me. And this story follows a girl living in a small town who is haunted by secrets that can't stay buried, and the sinister house that sits at the crossroads of it all. Opal, the female main character, knows better to go after this haunted house and, you know, searching after the secrets, but something just can't stop her. Something just can't stop her, and off she goes on this adventure to learn the secrets, unravel the mystery, see what the haunted mansion, like what the reasoning is behind the haunted mansion. And she enters Starling House and is quickly hit with the reality of being in a haunted house, and it becomes quite dangerous. But on the kind of flip side, as much as it is dangerous and haunted, etc., Opal weirdly feels like it's a home. So it's a fun fantasy again. I think the journey of seeing this girl, Opal, figure out the secrets, unravel the mystery, and also find a space which is potentially a home for her sounds so cute, so cozy, and just like such a fun read. I've heard such good things about Starling House. I really have. It's all over TikTok, and that is where I get most of my reviews. Call me basic, but that is where I get most of my recommendations and reviews. Next we have Spark of the Everflame, which is on Kindle Unlimited, and this follows a girl who is desperate to escape the life she's living, which is in a poor village. Her mother disappeared suddenly, and the main female character discovers a lot of details and secrets about her past. Like, her past is basically unraveling before her, and the main female character basically gets the opportunity to enter the very dark world of descended royalty and basically learn about her mother's disappearance. And I presume there's a romance in there somewhere. Maybe there's a prince, or maybe there's a guy who she should be hating, or he should be maybe on the sidelines waiting to kill her, and then suddenly it's actually a romance. I don't know, but this book has had the most amount of reviews. Everybody loves this book, and I so desperately want to read it. Like, I literally saw a TikTok the other day of someone saying they read this book in one sitting, and that's the type of vibes I'm after, especially if I'm trying to get through 25 books in the space of like 2 months. Next we have Twilight, which is not on Kindle Unlimited, annoyingly, but I feel like this is just the most autumnal read, and I feel like it's just like the Hunger Games. It's just one that everybody should be reading. We've all seen the films, we all make fun of the films, I guess, but I'd love to read the books and kind of read more about the story, unlock the Easter eggs. Obviously the book always has more detail. Twilight is just such a fun story, and I would love to have the physical copies, and I'd love to read these books. I actually have £10 of credit in my Waterstones gift card loyalty card thing, and I'm thinking one of these books might be the one I have to use my £10 credit on. Next we have Lights Out by Nevessa Allen, I think it's Nevessa, and this is the first book in the Into Darkness series, and this is on Kindle Unlimited, and this is a dark romance, stalker romance. This follows trauma nurse Ali and Josh, and it basically follows Ali on this website in which you kind of communicate behind masks. It's not face to face, it's very anonymous, and basically Ali and Josh, the main male character, agree to meet up from this website, and it ends up with Josh being a little bit morally grey, a little bit dark romancy-esque, and this has blown up again all over TikTok, and it seems like such a funny, almost light-hearted side of dark romance, and I'm very intrigued to read it. Next we have The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and this is the first book in the Naturals series, and this again is on Kindle Unlimited. A lot of these books luckily are on Kindle Unlimited, so even if I don't get to them all, I will be able to get to a lot of them through Kindle Unlimited, which is great. This follows 17-year-old Cassie, who is apparently very good at reading people. She's very good at piecing together the finest details. She can tell you who you are and what you are and what you want, but unfortunately it's not necessarily a quality and trait that has really been taken seriously. That is until the FBI. I just spent about half an hour waiting for my SD card to actually figure itself out. So, The Naturals, where was I? The FBI come knocking, and they basically hire Cassie to crack some cold cases. But there is much more to this which Cassie did not realise, and I presume the story then follows some mystery and Cassie kind of figuring out along the way what on earth she's been hired for. A few cracks in there as well. And she meets Michael, who is very sarcastic and can read emotions, and he very much gets under her skin, so I'm sure there's a little romance there too. Next we have Belladonna, which is not on Kindle Unlimited. The female main character is an orphan and she is 19 years old, and she has been raised by a string of guardians, each more interested in her wealth than anything else. Her relatives are the elusive Hawthorns, which are an eccentric family living at Thorngrove, which I presume is a very, very expensive, big, huge estate. The female main character's mother passed away, or adopted mother passed away, and basically the female main character realizes the responsibility to hunt down the killer of her mother / figure out what happened is on her shoulders, and she enlists the help of a boy, which is kind of Death himself, and they go on a little bit of a journey together, etc. These romances are all very similar, but I'm sure it would be a fun romance, and like I said, this series is very, very popular, so clearly the girlies are liking it. Next we have You Again by Kate Goldbeck. This unfortunately is not on Kindle Unlimited, but this is a romance, and it follows a commitment phobe and a hopeless romantic, and there's a lot of clashing, enemies to lovers-esque, grumpy sunshine. It's probably the most rom-com-esque autumnal cozy romance. It sounds like an absolutely wonderful time, and everybody on TikTok is saying this book is very cozy, very autumnal, and rom-com chick flick type of book, which I love. Next we have The Baby Dragon Cafe, which is on Kindle Unlimited, and this follows Sapphira, and she basically opens a cafe welcoming baby dragons, but she doesn't really expect to have to fight so hard to keep the fire burning. Her young dragons keep incinerating her furniture, and unfortunately selling coffee isn't covering her overheads. So she enlists the help of Aiden, the main male character, to help her financially stabilize her baby dragon cafe so she can still have the cafe and tend to the baby dragons, sell her coffee, while also definitely having a romance in there with Aiden. It again is the coziest. Literally the top line of the description says bestseller for fans of Gilmore Girls and dragons. Sign me up. Next I have Noticadia by Kerry Lake, a dark atmospheric tale of deadly secrets and forbidden love. After witnessing the death of her mother to a mysterious illness, the main female character is hoping to go and find the cure, or find kind of why her mother passed away, and she also wants to leave the city that she has been kind of quotes trapped in. 4 years after her mother passed away, she gets an acceptance letter from Noticadia University, and she meets Devrick Bramwell, and he is known as Dr. Death on the campus. So I presume she is trying to find a cure for her mother's illness while also having a romance in there, but it's set around like a university, so there's also like some academia in there, which sounds ideal to me. I love books that are set in like a school zone or like a university, like Zodiac Academy. I love those types of books, so this sounds right up my street. Next we have Blood and Steel, which is also on Kindle Unlimited, and this says, with her death foretold, Althea Zoltaire has only 3 years to become what she's always dreamed of being, a warrior legend. Women are forbidden to wield blades, so she has trained in secret her entire life. Now racing against the clock, she fights to secure her place in an elite guild charged with the protection of the 5 kingdoms. The sparring and hazing of the new trainees border on deadly, but even more dangerous is her growing attraction to Wilder Hawthorne, her unwilling warrior chaperone. This sounds incredible. I also, Ellen Catherine, who is my favourite booktuber, she is reading this series at the moment and she's absolutely raving about it. It sounds A Court of Silver Flames, Powerless, Reckless, Fourth Wing-esque, which are all my favourite books. All my favourite books, so sign me up. I think this is up there with one of the top ones I want to read. Next we have Shield of Sparrows, which is not on Kindle Unlimited because it did literally just come out, and this is by Devney Perry, and this is a slow burn, high stakes romantasy perfect for fans of Sarah J Maas and Rebecca Yarros, my two favourite, where enemies become lovers, monsters stalk a cursed realm, and a forgotten princess finds the strength to tear off her crown and become the warrior she was never meant to be. Okay, the gods sent monsters to the 5 kingdoms to remind mortals they must kneel. I've spent my life kneeling to their will and to my father's. As a princess, my only duty is to wear the crown and obey the king. I was never meant to rule, never meant to fight, and I was never supposed to be the daughter who sealed an ancient treaty with her own blood. But that changed the fateful day I stepped into my father's throne room, the day a legendary monster hunter sailed to our shores, the day a prince ruined my life. Now I'm crossing treacherous lands beside a warrior who despises me as much as I despise him, bound to a future I didn't choose and a husband I barely know. Yes, please. Yes, please. I'm reading the description because I'm so bad at descriptions. It just makes more sense for me to read them out to you, so I hope you don't mind. But this is giving enemies to lovers, high stakes, romantasy, some trials in there. Obviously, the main female character is a princess and she's going against her father, so I'm sure there's a lot of family drama in there too. Next, we have Fool I Want, which is on Kindle Unlimited by Lyra Parrish. And this follows a female main character who has escaped to Cosy Creek and has basically been made a fake girlfriend of this millionaire to try and help him get his family off his back. And also her ex comes to town and he offers to pretend to be her boyfriend so she can be like, get away, I found better. It's very Grumpy Sunshine-esque, forbidden love, slow burn, and I'm sure again very rom-com, very cozy vibes. Next we have Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson, which is not on Kindle Unlimited, again because it only just recently came out, and I do have the physical copy of this, but it is trapped at the bottom of my TBR, so just enjoy the picture. This follows a female main character who has basically been told in 7 days she's going to die as she suffered a crazy injury, and in having that injury she has started to see people in a new light, like her family, her sister's boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend, etc. And so within those 7 days of her being told she's going to die, she starts to see the cracks and figure out the issues and potential threats within her circle. This sounds like such a fun thriller, like the high stakes, the mystery, the whole thing sounds like a page turner, like a quick page turner. So I'm very excited to get to this book. Next we have Assassin's Blade by Sarah J Maas, which is actually the first book in the Throne of Glass series. I stupidly read Throne of Glass thinking it was the first book. Don't know why I thought it was the first book. I think because the series is called Throne of Glass that I just thought that was the first book, but I did not look. So I'm really annoyed at myself. So I definitely want to read Assassin's Blade because I did not love Throne of Glass, and also it didn't make that much sense to me, which now makes total sense because it wasn't the first book. So the Throne of Glass series follows a female main character that basically was a assassin and got taken to prison but has been taken out to fight as the king's personal assassin, and in Throne of Glass she fights for her place. No clue what happens in Assassin's Blade. I presume it's the prequel of how she got into that prison. The Throne of Glass series though is obviously very, very loved. Next I have City of Souls and Sinners, which is the second book in the House of Devil series, and this is on Kindle Unlimited. I read the first book a couple of days ago and I loved it. I literally read almost the entire thing in one day, and it's a 700-page book. It follows Loren and Darian, and Loren basically is human, but she has had a bounty put on her because she is wanted for some reason. No one can really figure out why, and Darian has been enlisted to find her but ends up accidentally saving her on his way to find her, and he's like, wait, why do people want you if you're just a regular schmegular human? And then that first book basically follows them trying to figure out why Loren is wanted, and also there's a romance that blooms, there's slow burning, there's yearning. It got 4.5 stars because I loved it. The only issue I had with it was that it was a little bit slow in places, but I definitely want to continue the series. I loved it. Next we have Road Trip with a Vampire, which isn't actually out yet. It's out on the 23rd, I think, of September. I can't remember which one I've read. I've read one of them, and they are very funny, vampire-esque romantasies, but it's very like current day, and I find these books so entertaining, so funny, so rom-com-esque, and I presume this book follows a female main character and a main male character who have to go on a road trip and learn about each other. I'm sure it's Grumpy Sunshine. I'm sure it's kind of hate to love-esque. I love these books so much. I'm so excited for this to come out. I can't wait to read it. Next I have Bride by Ali Hazelwood, which is literally sitting right here. This is one of Ali Hazelwood's different type of genres because she normally writes like rom-com-y style books, whereas this is a romantasy, or is it just fantasy? It's just, no, it is romantasy. A dangerous alliance between a vampire bride and an alpha werewolf, which becomes a love deep enough to sink your teeth into in this new paranormal romance. Misery Lark, the only daughter of the most powerful vampire councilman of the Southwest, is an outcast again. She has been called upon to uphold a historic peacekeeping alliance between the vampires and their mortal enemies, the werewolves, and she sees little choice but to surrender herself in the exchange again. Werewolves are ruthless and unpredictable, and their alpha, Low Moreland, is no exception. It's clear from the way he tracks Misery's every movement that he doesn't trust her. If only he knew how right he was. Because Misery has her own reasons to agree to this marriage of convenience, reasons that have nothing to do with politics or alliances, and everything to do with the only thing she's ever cared about, and she is willing to do whatever it takes to get back what's hers, even if it means life alone in werewolf territory, Alone with the Wolf. Next, we have The Irresistible Urge to Fall in Love with Your Enemy. This is a slow burn enemies to lovers romantasy duology, and it follows an assassin and a healer, and I presume they strike up some kind of deal to help each other, one being the assassin, one being the healer. Different priorities in life, but they are obviously very much resisting the urge to like each other. Eventually, the slow burn burns. They get forced to collaborate on a project, so therefore they have to work together, and it's a classic enemies to lovers, but I think the fact with the tropes of it being a healer and assassin set in a school, enemies to lovers, sounds like so much fun to me. And lastly, I have Fearful by Lauren Roberts. This is not yet out, and this is not going to be on Kindle Unlimited for a while, I don't presume, but I have pre-ordered the book by Lauren Roberts, and it is the last installment in the Powerless series, and this follows Kit, and that is literally all I know. If you've read the last book, you know about Kit's situation. This is a novella following Kit whilst, I presume, everything goes on in Reckless, because in Reckless the main female character Payden is on the run for a particular reason, and Kit's brother Kai is after her. I presume it follows what happened whilst Kai and Payden are elsewhere, because that's kind of all we follow during Reckless. I'm so excited for this book. I cannot wait. Powerless is my favourite series I've ever read, so honestly, you can bet I'll be bawling my eyes out and reading that book within the minute it gets to my doorstep. But those are 25 books that are on my full TBR/autumn TBR. Let me know if you have any other recommendations I did not mention in this video. Hopefully you've got some inspiration to add to your autumn TBR as well. Please do subscribe. I'm posting all sorts of autumnal content over the next couple weeks/months, so please do subscribe if you want some more cozy content. I post every Monday and Thursday at 5 PM. I have an Instagram and TikTok. They're both What Rose is Reading if you want any more content from me, and hopefully I'll see you again in another video. Kisses and hugs. Bye.